RingVille episode Franco Costanzo. Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Kevin Herrera Sanchez, KHS, and usually I would do an introduction, but today my guest, I cannot outdo him when it comes to introduction. Toe, can you please introduce yourself?
Of course. What you're looking at right here is the grimy gabagool, the pinstripe hitman, the six-train southpaw, the last Bronx Italian Franco Costanzo.
Yo, amazing, incredible.
Thank you.
Did you just practice that in front of the mirror until you were like...
Honestly, I don't know where it came from. It kind of just kind of happened in the ring. Like,
oh really?
Like training matches are very regular at my school. And you always kind of like were told, figure out a way to introduce yourself, figure out a way to let the people know who you are. And like, there was not as much ambiance like to really negate you out. So I just came in full guns blazing. And honestly, it was my buddy Michael Fain, who has a very similar intro to me. I was like, how can I tweak that to be more LBI, be more Franco?
Yeah, because like it is so important where it's like even your introduction could then become somewhat of like a catchphrase, right? Like just take a look at like Adam Cole, baby. Just instantly you want to say baby after you hear Adam Cole. So it's like when I was hearing you introduce yourself, it was like it automatically stuck. It's like, oh, I know exactly who you are.
Another inspiration I would say is LA Knight. Like he was starting his career, he would start and end his promos the exact same way. He'd throw his catchphrases in the middle, but you always knew how it was starting, you always knew where it was ending.
How would it start and end?
He's still pretty much to this day, he says, let me talk to you. And that gets it down. Or you'll hear the fans start chanting, and he'll cut them down by saying, let me talk to you. And I don't think he finishes it every time like this. I think he switched it up, but originally what took me was, it's not an insult, it's a fact of life. Whereas I end my promos usually with, you got two options. You either get out of the way or you get ran over. Capiche?
Okay. And it's just kind of developing this like personality. And it's like the audience is like, okay, I know. If I hear that phrase, I know who said that.
Exactly. Right? Wrestling is very driven by personalities.
For sure. Right. And it's like you are a personality, like of the utmost. Like you come out, right, with a big Italian flag. Your gear is Yankee inspired, right? You wrestle with goggles. Like, where did all of this like come from?
Well, the Italian part was just the fact that I'm very in tune with my Italian culture. I'm about a third, fourth generation Italian, but we kept the culture because of just how long we all lived and how just connected we are as a family. The Bronx stuff, Yankees are either very cheap pop or very cheap heat. Like wherever you go, you're getting a reaction out of something that looks like the Yankees. And it's also very perfect because of my refereeing. No matter what, I'm wearing stripes. That's true. It's just what stripes you're going to see me in the ring with. And the goggles, I'm actually very like nearsighted. I have a 2200 vision. So when I'm across the ring, if I don't have my goggles on, I won't be able to see you across the ring.
Whoa.
Which matters even more as a referee. Because you have to see if the shoulders are down. You're going to have to see what is going on with the match. If someone needs something.
Oh, wow. Like, so how do you work within that? Like with being so nearsighted where it's like, what are some of, I don't know if I want to say limitations, but kind of obstacles you face when wrestling?
Not so much anymore, but before I got the goggles, because my first 2 years of training, I didn't have any vision in the ring. It was only recently where I actually got the goggles, where all I had to do was rely off of sound. And even now, like how my vision works. Sometimes even with the goggles, I can't see. So I have to rely a lot off of sound.
Just like hearing where people are.
Yeah, pretty much. Hearing the steps of the ring, whether the steps are closer, further, hearing the grunts coming from them, where they are, so on and so forth.
Oh wow, that's incredibly interesting. Like, just I've never thought about a wrestler like needing to wear goggles because of their vision in the ring. Like, are there any other wrestlers who have done that?
I've seen one or two. Their names escape me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not the first, but hopefully I've become the biggest. Like, when you think of goggles, you think of the LBI.
Yeah, there
you think
you
of
go.
The blind ref.
I did want to talk about more of your refereeing, because you yourself gave yourself the honor of referee of the year for 2023.
That's correct.
What made you give yourself that?
Just the amount of work I've put into to being currently the only student or the only referee that came from the House of Glory Academy right now. Right now we have Nick Shin and Giuseppe Consiglio, I think his name is. And don't get me wrong, they're amazing refs, but you can see them wherever you want. If you want to see the LBI ref like he's never ref before, you come to House of Glory.
There you go. Yep. Because you have ref matches with the likes of like Homicide, right? Matt Cardona, Masha Slamovich, Amazing Red. Like, what's it like reffing matches with such legends in the business?
It's quite an out of body experience, honestly, especially with where I am in my career. Right. I feel like I shouldn't be sharing a ring with a Matt Cardona, with a Homicide, so on and so forth. But refereeing has given me such a pleasure to do that. And I wouldn't be where I am today as a wrestler, I would say, if I didn't also referee.
Yeah. So how did you get into refereeing?
So that came about because in training, I was very stagnant as a wrestler. I wasn't understanding everything how I should. And I took some time out of training, thought, what do I need to do to get it through my head to where like it's starting to work. And it was actually Brian Excel that said, why don't you referee? Maybe refereeing might be your thing. You're not the biggest in the world, so you're not going to get noticed for that. Why not try to learn a different craft? And just in general, House of Glory trains their students to be able to do everything around, especially refereeing.
And it's like, what are the things that they taught you that you now have to look out for in order to be a referee?
Very, very important is ring placement. You don't want to be that referee that gets in the way of cameras, gets in the way of a lot of the eyes, gets in the way of wrestlers. Right. So ring placement's super important. And because I got to understand ring placement as a referee, it's moved into my wrestling career and has made my ring placement just that much better as a wrestler.
Right. One of the things I did notice, you're not afraid to take like an extra pay, as a referee to, maybe like help somebody get the outcome that they want.
That's true. My debut in professional wrestling was Charles Mason versus Ken Broadway, where I was brought in by Charles to slow count Ken and to fast count him. Unfortunately, he didn't actually pay me. It was Carlos Ramirez who ended up choke slamming and taking the envelope.
Right.
But yeah, I've been moving into more of a ref for hire. That's where the Pinstripe Hitman nickname comes from. And it's really extended my career in a way that it melds basically my wrestling personality and reffing. Like there was the last Legacy Pro Wrestling show. I had a match where I reffed one, and then the very next match I wrestled it.
Whoa. So you had to go into the back, switch into you're already wearing stripes.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. And actually, I used the fact that I was already in stripes to my advantage. I had my wrestling gear under my ref's gear because I knew the battle royal. It was a battle royal that I was next in. Yeah. And I have tearaway pants. So all I did was steal a lucha mask from backstage, put it on, just so it's a very obvious face right here, you see. Yeah. So it's like, just took my time, made sure that I found my spot, and that was eliminating an old rival of mine, Badlands August. And it got me to the final 2 of the Battle Royal.
Yeah, it did. Unfortunately, didn't pull the win, but final 2.
Yeah, yeah. Don't worry, the winner knew. The winner got what he deserved afterwards.
Yeah. Because I know you said you became a ref because everyone needs a side hustle, right? And that was your side hustle.
It is. It is. It's made me more money in this industry than wrestling has.
There you go. It's like everyone always needs a ref, especially a ref for hire.
Exactly. You can grab any jamoke from the crowd, and they can get a decent match out of them. But you can't do the same as a referee. Right. Getting an inexperienced ref is the worst when you are in there in the ring.
That's true. That is completely true. One of the other things I wanted to talk about with you was just how you very much know who you are, right? And you know your character. And one of the things that absolutely popped me was seeing you hit a cutter, and then the commentators referred to it as a pizza cutter.
Yep. That was my idea. I told them,
your idea?
Make sure you call that as it is.
What about it makes it a pizza cutter?
In fact, I'm doing it. You see cutters left and right in this industry, but there's only one pizza cutter, and that's coming from the LBI.
You're right. Dudley's cutter.
It is.
Dudley's cutter. Fantastic mustache, by the way.
Thank you.
How long did it take you to grow that?
I've grown facial hair on and off in my life for a while, and I tried different styles here and there, and then one day it turned into this, and it was when I developed the LBI character. It was like, what's gonna separate me from every other Italian character that's on the New York, New Jersey indies? No one's rocking a mustache like this.
No one is.
Like, they're all running the Van Dyke or just a 5 o'clock shadow. Nobody's really doing a handlebar mustache.
Right.
Really, right now. The only person really that I've ever even seen do a handlebar in the 21st century is Simon Gotch.
Yes. And it's been a long time since we've seen him on TV. Anywhere. Really. But yeah, no, it's really nice mustache. Like, I myself have a little something, but not like, come on, I can't compare. It's like even the little, do you put anything in it?
Yeah, I use styling wax to style it into a handlebar. Yeah. I use like all kinds of oils and stuff like that to make sure that it's nice and healthy.
I saw a match where at a promotion, Warriors of Wrestling, right? And you scored your very first singles win.
That's correct.
Against Jason Boyd.
That's correct. Warriors of Wrestling, I kind of see as my spiritual second home. They were one of the first promotions to really give me a chance to do something other than refereeing.
Okay.
And a lot of the roster there are really cool with me. Yeah. And they're based out of Staten Island. Staten Island is a very, very big Italian population. So like I tried getting under their skin and like all that stuff, but they ate it up. So they love me over there at Warriors. So I fed into that and I let the people get behind me, and it turned into my first win with actually, I was actually dealing with a viral infection.
At the time?
Yep. At the time, I was dealing with a very nasty viral infection. but yeah, it was just all about perseverance. The fact that like I was sick of losing. Like I went a whole year of my career without winning a single match.
That's insane.
And it was just a matter of getting through the sickness and persevering to hopefully like be the first of what could be many wins going forward.
No, absolutely. Yeah, no, and I see many wins in your future.
Thank you.
For sure. Right before we started recording, you sat down and I saw a bit of your socks, right? And they were Macho Man socks. And you said Macho Man was a huge influence to you.
He was, yeah.
In what way did he influence?
Just his charisma. Like it took me like no one else in wrestling has. Like Macho Man just has that way of bringing you in and hooking you. Like and you can see it just in mainstream as well with the Slim Jim ads. Absolutely. Like when people think of wrestling, obviously they're thinking of Hulk Hogan, but like they're thinking next to Macho Man.
Yeah. No, yeah, because just I think he was doing Slim Jim commercials for years.
Yep.
Like, and it's like, it's like he's synonymous with Slim Jim. Like, if I think of Slim Jim, I think of Macho.
Sure. Yeah, I think we all do.
Absolutely. Something else you wanted to talk about that's very important to you. April is Autism Awareness Month, right? And you said that it's something that you would love to talk about, especially because it is so important to you. Why is it so important to you?
Autism Awareness Month is very near and dear to my heart because of two things. One, my mother has been working with people with developmental disabilities for as long as I've been alive. And it almost seemed to be much of a blessing because when I was born at 2 years old, I was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. And thanks to the amazing work that my mother has done and the nonprofit that I and my mother work for, AHRC, have done for me, I've been able to be sort of a role model for other people with developmental disabilities. And a big goal of mine is that I want to be the first professional wrestler to be signed to the WWE who is on the autism spectrum. That's what's bringing me closer and closer to what I need to do. Because I'm not doing this for me. Like my career is not about vanity. It's not about like I want to be famous. It's I want to be that person someone on the spectrum looks towards to say, hey, I'm not going to let this disability control me. I'm going to do it because I've seen someone else that suffers with the same thing that I'm suffering from. Get it.
Yeah. You want to be an inspiration for others.
Yes.
And that's a beautiful thing. And it's like I hope that dream turns into a reality.
Thank you.
Yes, of course. How has is there a way where I know autism affects people very differently, right? Like each case is different, each person is different. So it's like, what are ways it has like affected you?
A lot of my early childhood life was very difficult socially. I really didn't have many friends growing up just because my brain couldn't really figure out how to make friends. Like I had the odd friend here and there, but due to just me not getting how friendships really work, it didn't stick. I didn't have any long-term friends. And just, I think even to this day, there's still some semblance of difficulties, especially because it's a social disability and I'm in a profession that you need to be extremely social in.
Extremely social, right.
So there's not a day that goes by where there's some struggles here and there, but I know at the end of the day, I'm like, what helps me get through it is that I'm not doing it for myself. You can give up on yourself so easy because you don't mind disappointing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's when you do it for other people that you feel like you can't disappoint other people.
Right. That is true. So yes, wrestling, it's a very social, business, right? But has that way just even like helped you? Because it kind of forced you to be more social, and did it like, force you to like learn, maybe not learn, but kind of like maybe figure out a way that works for you?
I would say so. I would say, well, wrestling's always been a part of my life, and really, it's helped me a lot in just figuring out how things work, and what to do, what not to do, who to emulate, who not to emulate. So, not just being in the business, but wrestling in general has really helped me in strides to become the man I am today.
What are some of the people that you looked up to in wrestling that has helped you as well?
Might be controversial to say, but Eugene. Eugene was one of the few people, like, yes, he doesn't have a disability, but he was able to shine a light on it, like that was kind of my inspiration to get into the business. Like, before, like, I realized, Eugene wasn't really, there wasn't anything wrong with him. Like, it was still hey, if he can do it, why can't I?
Right.
In general, my inspirations from wrestling don't always come from wrestling. Like, I would say my full inspirations are Al Pacino in the way I move, in the way I present myself. Joey Diaz in my promos, because he fires off all cylinders, and he's no nonsense when he talks. But my in-ring inspirations would be back to Macho Man and Owen Hart. Those are trailblazers of the style that we know today. There wouldn't be an Amazing Red. There wouldn't be a Rascals, a Ricochet, a Seth Rollins without the building blocks that Macho Man and Owen Hart made for them.
Right. Like, just Macho Man in the sense of like character and energy. And then even in the ring, like he was his WrestleMania 3 match.
Yes.
Right? It's just like that's considered one of the best matches in WrestleMania history. Yeah. And he had such a unique style where it's like he would rehearse the match, right? Yeah. He would rehearse it, and it's like until he had it down to like, oh, I know exactly what to do. And it's like, which is not something that happens too often. Yeah. But he was there at the very start, and even Owen Hart, like one of the greatest of all time. Like, I completely agree with you. Like, a lot of the style today in wrestling is influenced by Owen Hart.
My favorite match of all time is definitely him and Bret Hart, WrestleMania 10. That is the perfect match if you just want to see wrestling at its best. There's a story there. There's technical wrestling. There's emotion. There's drama. There's everything that you would want in a professional wrestling match. Even if you didn't know the two men in there, you hear the commentators, they're brothers, and the younger brothers angry at the older brother for being so successful. You get hooked into it.
You totally do. Like,
and it's not just the story. The in-ring followed suit. Like, you would see in the early of the match, Owen Hart, when he would take control, he'd kind of just like slap Bret around just to be like, I'm bullying you.
Yeah, now. I'm your younger brother, but look what I'm doing. Yeah, because then even then leads to the end of the night where Bret wins the title.
Oh yes.
And then Owen is just there standing at the back of the ramp.
One of the best shots done in professional wrestling is Owen on the ramp and Bret being celebrated by the entire roster.
Yeah, I had PJ Savage on the show, and that was his first event ever.
Oh wow!
And we also talked about that shot because it's like you said, one of the best. Incredible. What are some of your goals you have for either wrestling or even in general life?
The main goal that I mentioned earlier was become the first to sign to WWE with a developmental disability. Right. We've gotten pretty close. For example, in AEW, Will Ospreay, who's dealt with ADHD and recently got diagnosed with autism, but to my knowledge, it's never been done in WWE. So that's the end goal there is to get to the WWE so I can break that glass ceiling. Like I feel like that's that last glass ceiling that we have. Like every other minority has really broken the glass ceiling. We've had women's main events. We've had all black main events. We've never really had someone that like you don't realize is as marginalized as you would think, because we all come in different shapes, sizes, and colors. You don't realize the fact that we have it so much harder, not necessarily because society's trying to push us down, but because we're at such a handicap compared to everyone else.
Right.
Short-term goal is, I would say, win a title.
Win a title?
I'm a big belt mark. I'm definitely looking into hopefully being a champion soon.
Are you a belt mark in the sense that you collect belts?
On and off. If I have the money, I like before I got into wrestling, I would. But I kind of, once I started working, I thought to myself, next belt I get, I want it to be a replica of the first title I win.
Oh, nice.
Like whenever I win it, I'm going right to the promoter and asking, who made your belt? And I'm going to go to that belt maker and say, make me a replica.
Right. Put it on your wall.
Definitely.
Absolutely. That's a great dream. A good goal for sure. Well, thank you very much for sitting down with me.
It was such a pleasure, brother.
No, very much so. It's like I look forward to watching you grow in your career, right? And it's like getting definitely more wins, right?
Hopefully.
Getting more money as a side hustle for sure.
Definitely.
And thank you very much, everyone. Take it easy.